Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the San Diego Bass Fishing Podcast. Today we have a young man on here that I first met, and I think again in like 2019 or so, and it was at a juniors tournament. In fact, I didn't really meet him that day. I just noticed that he went up and got awards for, I think that year he came in second to Jackson, Mr. Action Jackson. But anyway, so that's beside the point. The point is this gentleman has gone on to do some really great things here in the bass fishing world. And we'll go ahead and introduce him. Welcome, Cody Crist. That's an awesome backdrop.
I figured it might be.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great.
Better than being in my room against the wall, we're at the kitchen table. I figured it might be something kind of cool.
Right. Yeah, that's much better than a lot of them. Most of them are on the kitchen table, exactly, propped up against the glass. All right, cool. All right, well, let's just go ahead and just get started. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, I'm already recording, so. All right, welcome everybody to this episode of the San Diego Bass Fishing Podcast, and I'd like to welcome Cody Crist. Did I get it right?
You got it right.
Oh, nice. I see your dad at the Bass Council meetings, and I'm glad to get you on board here, and I'm really excited to have you. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, of course. I think this should be a good time.
Yeah. So to get this out of the way, Bryce kind of caught me off guard. How old are you?
I'm actually 22.
Okay, that's what I thought. I thought you were 22, and because I remember you when I first met you or saw you or whatever. It was in the juniors, like in 2019, and I think you were going up and getting a plaque or something at one of the tournaments.
Yeah, I fished 2 years of the juniors, and my last year was a good year. So I think we got a couple plaques, and
yeah. Okay, so other than going about and winning money at MLF events, what do you do for a living?
I do HVAC actually down on Naval Base Coronado. So basically, I'm a civilian contractor for the Navy.
Oh, nice.
So we work on everything from small split systems all the way up to, like today, we're working on a 100-ton package unit.
Yeah, nice. So, HVAC, it really interested me in that it was always an issue. Like I worked on sport fishing boats and we had to keep our fish cool. So I had to deal with refrigeration quite a bit. Just on my own. It was like a crash course in refrigeration. I didn't get to go to school for it or anything, but I know it's a great job for sure. It has a good big future.
It is a great job for sure. You got electrical, plumbing, you got all the trades basically built in one. So there's a lot of diversity to it.
So how is it that they okay your time off to go and do these tournaments?
So basically I get annual time, and then they do let me work some comp time. Mm-hmm. So that's awesome. Basically when I got the job, I told them, I said, hey, look, this is what I want to do. I want to try and eventually work my way up to making a living at this. And so I told them, I said, I'm going to need some time off if I'm going to take this. And actually it's funny because our neighbor, so basically growing up, we went to the Lower River, as you probably know. And our neighbor across the street, he's one of the head guys there. So he was the one that, kind of talked me into it, and he knew how into it I was. And so I told him, I said, this is kind of what I'm looking to do, and this is kind of, I'm going to need that time off. So he was, all right, well, we'll work it out.
That's awesome that you have an understanding company that you work for.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like the first step in trying to do big tournaments. Going away for 2 weeks at a time, man, it's tough for the average guy.
Yeah, and it's cool because I get to work 410, so
Oh yeah.
typically I'm away for about 4 days,
Uh-huh.
by the time you include the weekends and stuff like that. But you know what? It means me being able to take that time off means a lot of hours. So
Yeah.
today's Friday and I work my 50 hours this week, and next week I'll probably be anywhere from 50 to 60. So
Yeah. Yeah. So where did you start? Where did you start fishing? Uh, uh, I'm sure your dad took you fishing, but what happened? When did you catch your first fish? And let's go from there.
I started fishing as early as I can remember. So pretty much when I could walk, my dad has pictures. My mom made scrapbooks of us all, when we were little kids, and there's pictures in there of me when I was like barely had hair on my head with a life jacket on in the boat. Whether it was at our local lakes or down at the lower river. So I basically, I cut my teeth fishing our local lakes, Sutherland and El Cap, primarily from what I could remember. And then, like I said, we had a place growing up down at the lower river. So we were out there basically every other weekend, starting probably at the age of, I want to say 8. And, even before then, we were still making trips out there every summer.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
basically it was either I was fishing San Diego lakes on the weekend or I was fishing down at, Hidden Shores, Martinez, Fishers down
Yeah.
there. So, it was a lot of good places to, get
Mm-hmm.
going.
And so you did a couple of years in the juniors tournaments, and that worked out pretty good for you.
Yes, I did. I did a couple years in that. And then before that, actually tournament bass fishing, I got started doing that, fishing the club stuff. I think my first year fishing with the club my dad is in, is Hooker's Bass Club.
Hookers.
My first year of that was when I was 11. And that first year I did it, we fished the top 6 tournament and we actually won. So that was a good way to, get going in tournament bass fishing. I'd watch
Yeah.
I'd come home from tournaments, night tournaments, the top 6 tournament, and then finally I got to be in one that means something, means something
Yeah.
more than, you know.
Yeah.
And
So you also fished the Federation,
yeah,
which is individual. It's like the only tournament series that's an individual tournament series around here.
yeah, it's kind of that pro-am style, you get
Yeah.
paired up with random co-anglers. And yeah, I want to say I did that for 3 years after I did the juniors. And then this year's my first I think this year's my first year not doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was just because the dates were kind of stacked up with the Toyota Series stuff and trying to fit in the state championships, and then if you move on, then it's the national semifinals, and
Right.
it's all becomes a lot of time off, and trying to figure these things out.
So I get confused. Is that California Bass Federation? Is it associated with MLF or is it associated with another organization?
So TBF, which is the Bass Federation, is kind of run by MLF.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, yeah, you can qualify. You can go all the way to the national championship, and I believe if you win the national championship, I believe it gets you an entry to the BFL All American. If I'm not
Okay.
mistaken, I'm not sure, but you qualify for one of the big tournaments, and I want to say if you win that, you actually get a paid season to the. I guess I know it used to be the pro circuit, but I don't know if they still do that now that MLF is now under the invitationals. I'm not sure if they
Yeah.
still do it that way, but when I first got into it, that was one of the highlights
Mm-hmm.
was get a paid season fishing, professionally.
Right.
And I thought that was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. That Rich Vincent, he's a pretty good angler, isn't he?
He is. He's a good angler, very good angler. I mean, he's done well from Diamond Valley all the way down to, El Cap, San Vicente.
The reason I brought it up is because I was looking at your stats and whatever, and I remember and looking through your Instagram, I was and his name popped up on the on the stat sheet where it was like Vincent, Cody, Crist, and blah, 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 blah. And then, so it was funny because I had at Western Outdoor News at Havasu, one of my backseaters had Rich Vincent the day before. And he told me, he was like, oh yeah, he had me Carolina rigging in the grass. I'm like, what? You got to be joking. He's like, no, you just throw this Carolina rig out and you like rip it through the grass. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. He's like, nope, we were catching him. Got 17 pounds. I'm like, oh, I guess you learn something new every day.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's not something that a lot of people would do out there.
No, it was new to me. Yeah, it was new to me. He was also using some forward-facing stuff, but anyway, that's another story.
Yeah.
So Hookers Bass Club, are you still a member?
Yes, I am still a member. Our club is very small.
Yeah.
That's part of the main reasons why I still attend the club tournaments, is because it's something that, I was a part of at such a young age and kind of got me really into the tournament, kind of scene. And to see it dwindle down, it's had its highs, it's had its lows. And now we're down to, I think, consistently we have 4 to 5 guys. And I know one of our club members, he's getting older and I think he's going to get out of it. So I know pretty soon here we're going to have, maybe 4 guys.
Yeah. I'm the president of the San Diego Bassmasters, and I'm seeing the same thing. Like, we have a tournament tomorrow at Sutherland, which I was super excited about. Kind of a new lake. We haven't been there in a long time. We've got 15 boats. This was the club with 50, not 10 years ago. It had a waiting list at 50. And now we have 33 active members, for the biggest club. It's just like I hear the story at the council meetings every month, like every club is dwindling, and it kind of makes me sad, honestly.
It really does. I think that first top 6 I fished, there were 14 clubs, 13 or 14 clubs. And
yeah,
it seems like there's clubs that are barely making it, and I think I think
11.
Last year there was 11.
Last year there was 11. Yep.
There's more clubs that are right there with that 4 to 5 to 6 to 7, 8 guys,
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. I have no idea on how to turn it around, really. I made it my goal to increase membership this year. And it's not happening. I blame the economy, honestly. Not that I want to get into that, but
yeah,
the economy, it makes it tough. It's not cheap to even be in a club and to go fishing and try to prepare for the tournaments. It's even expensive that way.
Yeah, that's for sure. Everything has gone up a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so what's your schedule? So you're fishing MLF, and what else are you doing? Anything else?
So I did National Bass West this year. So I think we fished 4 out of the 6. Because one of them we missed because I was at Clear Lake for MLF. So MLF was my main focus this year. And then we're going to be fishing the US Open at Mojave, and then we'll do the Toyota Series Championship. And those are both going to be kind of back to back. Mojave's in the middle of October. And then we're going to leave, I think it's 2 weeks later by the time we travel all the way back to Wheeler Lake in Alabama.
That's where they're at right now? That's where the Bassmasters are right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Wheeler Lake and October, so that's in November. Is it November?
Yeah, it's the first weekend of November, I believe. It's the 7th to the 9th.
Yeah, it's going to be cold.
I hope not. Last year when we were in Missouri, it was pretty cold. We had practiced where I think the coldest it got when we launched the boat was 17 degrees.
And so that was at the MLF Championship, and that was Table Rock, right?
That was Table Rock, yeah.
Yeah, and I remember talking to Todd Klein about that and whatever, and just the conditions. It was just absolutely brutal.
It was brutal, yeah. And what was crazy was the first day we got there, it was 85 degrees.
Oh, no kidding.
And then
wow.
It just tanked. Every day it just got colder and colder and colder.
Yeah.
It was weird, though. I felt like 17 degrees didn't feel as cold as like 27, 28, 29 degrees feels here.
Hmm.
Kind of weird.
Yeah. Was it dry? It's not dry in the Ozarks.
No, there was a little bit of fog, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. How'd that tournament go for you?
I think I want to say I finished 89th out of 220.
Yeah.
So not the best showing, but not the worst.
Yeah.
Big learning curve.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I basically tried to fish. I want to say it was like a 15 or 20 mile stretch, like of the lake. The lake's
Mm-hmm.
75 miles long.
Right.
I was thinking, oh, I'm narrowing it down by, anywhere from 15 to 20 mile stretch, stretch of the lake. And in reality, I think I could have gone in one creek and, just dialed in the creek and been fine.
Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
second day, the first day I only had 3 fish and I was kind of trying to run around it everywhere. And then the second day, we did a little bit of that, but we spent a decent amount of the day in one creek. And my co-angler had 5 fish and he was in the lead.
Mm-hmm.
I
Now,
had 3 fish and I had an okay bag, for 4, but my co-angler, man, he was throwing a little Ned head, just finessing them right behind me.
yeah.
And he did good. He kicked my butt that day.
So I'm trying to put this in perspective for like San Diego people or, whatever. You say a creek. How and the lake is 70 miles long, and you said you could have stayed in one creek. How big is this creek? How big is the creek compared to like El Cap?
I would say that creek specifically was probably from right as you start to bend into the north end.
Yeah.
Let's say from there to the very back
Yeah.
of El Cap, but I would say probably about 6 or 7 times as wide.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
When you put that into perspective, size-wise, that's probably almost the size of El Cap.
The total thing, yeah. The total lake, yeah.
And there were creeks there that were probably at least triple to, I don't know, anywhere from probably 3 to 7 times as big as El Cap. That's just
So 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 I know that there's been a huge increase in the amount of fishermen. And but at the same time, now that you have gone back east and you've seen how big the lakes are, and you've seen how many people fish back there, and you see how many people fish out here, those guys are complaining about it getting crowded. Is it really getting crowded back there? I mean, come on. The lake is 70 miles long and the creeks are like the size of our lakes. I mean, is it crowded?
It's not that crowded compared to out here. If I'm fishing in an area like a creek, like that one I was talking about that had 5 boats in it, it would
Oh,
be
really?
absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
It would be absolutely nothing compared to out here.
Yeah.
But the fish back there, I think they might handle pressure a little bit different. They before COVID, let's say, maybe there was 1 boat per creek, and that's nothing. That's not a lot of pressure. And then they get 5 boats in a creek now.
Yeah.
Those fish might feel a lot more pressure.
They're not used to it.
Yeah, they're not
Like,
used to it. Where our fish, they're used to it.
right. Yeah. Like you can go out and go to Cap or San Vicente or Otay and day after day after day catch them. Like it
Yeah,
bites. Like when
yeah,
it's biting, and it doesn't matter if you put 40 or 50 boats on it, it's still going to bite. And you can go out the next day and it'll still bite.
yeah. It might get a
So,
little bit tougher, but it may not completely shut off. Where
right.
back there, I feel like the lake sometimes can completely just shut off.
Yeah. Because of the crowd,
Yeah,
because of
because
the
of
pressure. All right. One of those. Yeah. 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 That's a good point. I didn't think about that. I always took the acreage and the amount of anglers and this and that. And I was like, you guys have 300 acres per angler for this one lake. And we have 5, 5
yeah,
acres per angler or whatever, you guys don't even know what it is, but it is true. Our fish act differently because of it.
yeah,
And
they do.
they're just used to it.
Yeah, our fish are very conditioned to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it can. I mean, it can make the bite a little bit tough sometimes. I think more so Snow
Sure.
City than any lake.
Yeah.
Uh, but El Cap still typically fishes pretty decent, and Otay still fishes pretty decent with a big crowd. So
Yeah. Yeah. So so you took a fourth and a seventh at the Delta. So you've done well at the Delta in the past.
I have
And do you think that your time on the lower river has something to do with that? Is it the same kind of?
absolutely, absolutely. It's just growing up at the lower river, and even here, I would say, but more so the lower river than anything. I kind of relate it somewhat to here simply because of the fact that growing up fishing out of my dad's boat, the most electronics we had was 2D.
Hmm.
Like we had 2D. I didn't even know what side scan really was, and I got to look at it until
Mhm.
really about, I would say, 3 years ago. That was, so I grew up kind of fishing instincts, fishing, power fishing, kind of heavier line, chucking and winding, and you've been
Yeah.
to the lower river plenty enough times to know that you can go chatterbait, you can go frog, you can go flip, you can go throw a Senko, you know how to fish grass, tules and stuff like that. And the Delta really just sets up very similar. So like I can go there and I just feel comfortable. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I know
So,
exactly what you mean.
you
Other
know,
than the tides and the big river and whatever and the size of the whole thing, but you have, yeah, you have a lot of experience in that kind of situation.
yeah, and that kind of element for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I finished seventh as a coingler, and that was cool. I was mainly fishing a Senko and a drop shot, just behind guys. And then last year was pretty cool. But what threw me for a loop last year is we had king tide. So we had these massive
Oh,
swings. We had these massive
yeah.
swings. So on high tide, these island tops, they had so much water on them. The fish could be
Hmm.
anywhere in them. And then by the time the tournament came, you'd be catching a little bit of that high tide, but it was high outgoing. So, but then by the time it dropped, and each day basically the tide gets basically it shifts by 1 hour.
Hmm.
So each day I kept having a lower tide. And so when it would drop out, basically there was nowhere for the fish to go up on the islands. They basically had to sink out into the main channel, and sink out off of what they were holding on. So that's what threw me for a loop. And I don't really have much experience punching grass.
Hmm.
I think that was one thing that I probably could have done looking back at it, because all my fish were caught on a high tide on top of the island tops on a spinnerbait, chatterbait, Senko, stuff like that. And then you'd have such a big tide swing that all that water would drop out off of it. The fish obviously can't be up there. And there was some grass, some big grass mats that would, you'd have the main channel pushing up against it.
Hmm.
And that was something I didn't necessarily think about because I've never had it. Like in San Diego, we don't really flip a lot of grass.
Right.
You
No.
know,
Yeah.
if anything, there's like a little bit of grass pushed up against tules, but not grass with current ripping down the side of it.
Right.
But looking back at it, I was thinking, well, in the moment, I was thinking, all the fish left. They're out of here. They're like, I don't want to be in the island tops. There's no water for me on there. But in reality, I think that they probably just tucked down into that grass,
Hmm.
you know.
Hmm.
But yeah, I was able to salvage that tournament after a great start. I ended up finishing fourth, like you said. But man, I tell you what, it was hard to be in the lead after day one, having almost 24 pounds,
Yeah.
to the next 2 days having less than 15 pounds.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that one was a little bit hard to swallow, in a way. But that's how you learn.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It was good. It was a good. You placed good, but I'm sure you had a lot to think about on the way home.
Yeah, it still stung it because after day one, I had like a 4 pound lead.
Yeah.
4 pounds at that level and at a place like that is big.
Oh yeah.
4 pound
Oh
lead.
yeah. We were all cheering you on.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a big deal for it. It's funny because when we see the locals from San Diego do well in other areas, it makes us proud, you know.
Yeah.
You make us proud for sure.
Yeah, that's the goal, you know.
So what are your okay, so what are you going to do now? What's your future plans?
Next year, if MLF is still around, because obviously we haven't gotten a lot of boats, you know, in these tournaments, not at least not like what they want. You know, we're still getting anywhere from close to 60 to 85 boats.
Yeah.
But that's not a lot, you know, that we need to get around that 100 mark. But yeah, if they're still here next year, I'll probably do that. You know, I love supporting Major League Fishing. I feel like that is one of the only opportunities for guys on the West to advance to whether it be the invitationals or even just making it to the Toyota Series Championship. And the content and the coverage that MLF has to me is unmatched compared to WAN Bass and other tournaments. I think WAN Bass obviously is a great tournament organization, but the way MLF, I feel like MLF is on a national scale. Their coverage, their media it's so much better.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I agree with you.
You know,
I'm a big I'm a big fan of Western Outdoor News. I always have been since I was a kid.
yeah.
So I want to support them, but you know, when it comes down to it, you just looking at the websites and whatever and the coverage is the big deal. Like they got Johnny Z out there taking pictures and
Yeah.
videoing and it's up to date. It's at that evening, you know, it's a live weigh-in and there's no hiccups.
Yeah, and Alan is an unmatched tournament director. To me, he's the best there is. He brings the energy.
He does. He
He
does.
he makes
That prayer in the morning is really something.
Yeah, it really is. It really
Yeah.
is. When he says, "Let these guys walk on water and walk through fire," it gets you going.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
Alan's awesome. I'm really glad to have him as our tournament director out here. And he tries as hard as he can. You can see it. You can see he loves the West. He loves our venues, and he's trying to make it something great. So
Yeah.
I would love to see more boats out. You know, like I said, if we want to keep that shot at going to the invitationals or going to the Toyota Series Championship, something huge. I mean, you get to go to the Toyota Series Championship and fish for $200,000.
Right.
So for guys out west, it's just like we don't have that opportunity except through MLF. So if MLF is away, we don't have that. So I'm a big supporter of MLF. I think WAN Bass is great, and that's why I'm going to fish the U.S. Open. And I'd love to figure out a way to fish both WAN Bass and MLF.
Yeah.
But yeah, so next year my goal is to fish MLF, couple WAN Bass events, hopefully for sure the U.S. Open. That's kind of my goal. Is kind of the same thing I'm doing this year. And if things work out, then I'll fish the federation level stuff. Because that is another way to advance. At least to get somewhere back east and compete against guys back east. So I think that's another great avenue that you can take. And then who knows? I might do some team stuff. I think this year, I might do the Elkhorn Ford 2-day. Still trying to keep my feet, around the San Diego.
Yeah. I mean, if you're here, you might as well fish it.
Yeah, it is hard though to compete. It really is. I know I'm good, but it's the time on the water.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I know in one of your last podcasts, you and Randy brought up Jake, and Jake is absolutely killing it. And he spends a lot.
He gets brought up every podcast at this point.
Yeah.
I was kind of trying to not bring his name up this time, but obviously it popped up again.
Yeah, but it's the fact that a guy like me that's I don't fish as much locally. In reality, I mean,
yeah,
you probably think about the last time you saw me out on the water. It was probably months ago.
Yeah.
So I don't fish as much because I am working. I'm trying to work my tail off to try and get to a bigger scale.
Right.
Not sense.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of, with how much I work and then taking the time off to go fish elsewhere, even though it's, there's only 3 tournaments, for regular season, and then you got the championship. But by the time you
Well,
put in all the money and the time off that you're trying to get, it occupies a lot of weekends,
yeah.
and then at some point you need to take 2 steps back and, breathe a little bit.
Right. Right. Well,
So
we'd love to see you at the 2-day.
yeah,
It's only $600. Just come on down, go fishing. It don't matter. Grab your dad, get on the boat.
yeah, and
And
it's a good time for me to do it because, I really don't have anything going until the U.S. Open, anything big at least.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's October. So you'll start seeing me out, in our local lakes a little bit more, but starting to try to build up the funds and stuff to go back to Alabama and fish.
Hmm.
It all costs a lot,
I know.
I would say each tournament, like for example, this last Delta tournament, it cost me $3,700 just for entry fee, for lodging, for food, for boat slip, for gas, for all the expenses. So by the time you do that a couple times a year, it's, by the time you have all your tackle and, obviously you got to count in things that go wrong, you're in almost $20,000.
Oh, I know. I
So
know.
it's,
I
it's,
just came back from Havasu, and yeah, and I even had my lodging was free. I stayed with my dad has a place out there, or whatever, a trailer, and this and that. It was easily $3,500,
yeah,
easily, and gas is really the real killer. It's getting out there and getting back, and pre-fishing. You're burning you're burning it up. It's
yeah.
$70 a day to
A
go
place,
to put it in your tank.
yeah, a place like the Delta where gas was almost six
Yeah,
dollars a gallon. It was almost $6 a gallon, and
no kidding.
you burn 25 gallons of gas in your boat, you're in over $150.
Why is it so expensive up there?
Part of it was
That's
part of it was because we had our boats in slips.
Oh, you were getting on the water gas.
We were getting gas in the water, but even
Oh,
then,
okay.
at Oakley, you drive into Oakley, it's still 525 or something.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's still either way, 25 gallons, you're still going to be in like $135 or something like that.
So what do you
So
do? What do you? Speaking of which, speaking of gas prices, and I was just thinking, I was like, man, that's one of the reasons I like going to the Lower River. I don't even fill up my gas tank so I can fill it up when I get there.
yeah,
Like. But speaking of the Lower River, like, what's your favorite thing? What's your favorite thing about that? Tell me about that fishery. What do you like about it?
I personally just love the fact that you can power fish, and that's that's what I like to do. I like to power fish. Don't get me wrong, this live scope stuff is cool and all, but my favorite part about out there is you can go power fish. You can forget about everything else in the world. You may never see a boat, especially if you go on a weekday.
Yeah.
Um, and on the weekends, you're not fishing around crowds. And for the most part, if you want to catch them a certain way, stick that bait in your hand, and you're bound to find it. You're bound to find that bite.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, you can do everything there. You can go throw a thin Senko, or you can go throw a 9-inch glide bait.
Yeah.
And I promise you're going to get bit on both.
Yeah.
You know,
I love it.
so in summertime out there's one of my favorite times of year out there. I would say my 2 favorite times of year is dead of winter, which
Yeah.
the fishing is tough.
Winter.
Don't get me wrong, it is tough. But when you find them,
You're on them.
lights out.
Yep.
You could go catch 30 fish in a row.
Oh yeah.
Cast
Absolutely.
fast. So, and then summertime's a ball, you can go frog, flip, you can fish backwaters, current, you can throw the cheater, you can throw glide baits, you can do anything you want that's related to power fishing. You can throw a double buzz and all that stuff.
So nothing against Billy Skinner or and his business. I actually have to congratulate him. He's doing it. He's coming out with some good baits. Do you like the cheater? Do you find it? I mean, it's I don't know. I've caught some fish on it. You like the cheater?
I do like it.
Do you?
I do. I do.
Right on.
It did take me a little while to grow
Yeah.
go into, really liking it. But this past summer, I only made a couple trips down there. But man, it was lights out on it. It was
Well,
like
that's cool.
we could go fish it in backwaters. We could go fish it in the current, and they were just biting it like
Yeah.
big ones.
Yeah.
Average fish was probably 3 to 5, 6 pounds.
That's
So
awesome. It is easy to skip. A big old chunk of plastic. That thing skips right under there.
it does. And
Yeah.
yeah, to me, the biggest thing is throwing it on a weightless beast hook. I know a lot of people like to throw it on a weighted, but
Yeah.
I found that weightless will change your outcome and your results by a lot.
I'm really glad you said something, because I've always fished a weighted beast hook, and maybe I'll try that for sure next time.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, because that was when I started really growing into it. Was as soon as I switched to a weightless,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
to me, it increases the bites. It skips way better. The
Yeah.
baits don't hardly tear at all. Which he did come out with his new what do you say, silicone baits.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
they dropped at 6 p.m. tonight. I was thinking about trying to get on and getting a few more, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he's got those crispies, and then that chicken gizzard. And I tried to get that chicken gizzard when it first dropped a couple times, and it was like, it was if you work right on it, you know how those drops go.
yeah,
And then I kind of just gave up. But I want to get some of those. I like the shape of them and whatever, especially in green pumpkin. I'd like to get some green pumpkin ones.
yeah. My buddy, he has a couple of those.
Yeah.
He's got some fish on him.
Yeah.
And same thing with the Crispies.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
he does have that new chicken rat though. That sounds pretty interesting.
The last time I was there, what was it, a month ago? I just went. Oh, I all I did was I pulled the Gary key, and I threw the rat the whole time. And if they were followers on the rat, they didn't eat it, I threw an Ica on them and they'd eat that, or maybe a 4-inch Cinco or whatever. But that was
Yeah.
good times. I threw that rat for 3 days, man. I caught a lot of fish on it. It was fun.
Yeah, they definitely bite it. They bite the wake baits in general. Caught a lot of fish down there on bluegill wake baits.
Yeah.
Some big ones doing that.
Yeah.
But I think my biggest one down there is flipping current.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That's what I have to get into. That's missing in my arsenal as far as the river goes, is flipping that current. I've really avoided it, and I've done fine in backwaters and whatever, but I know that I'm missing a lot of fish in that current.
Yeah, summertime, you got to get out there. I would say probably starting about now.
Yeah.
Throughout the rest of summer is when it gets really good. I would say probably all the way to probably about October
Is that right?
Is when you can do pretty good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good time. You can flip the cane, you can flip the toolies, it can be really good, but also there's definitely tough stretches.
Have you made the run to Walter's Camp?
I haven't. I know
God, I keep looking at that. I used to fish. I remember fishing Walter's Camp as a kid, and I've seen some videos from other people fishing it, in the wintertime. I guess there's a lot of smallmouth up there now, but making that runs 30 miles, and it's that's a lot of sandbars to navigate.
Yeah, if I was down there every weekend, I would definitely do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's what it takes. It takes just learning the river,
Yeah.
going far and having a trail more than anything.
Yeah.
But I've had times where I've just gone upriver past I'm blanking on the name of it, but Island Lake.
Yeah.
Just going up towards Island Lake, the water dropped overnight, and
Oh yeah.
where I was running, now my skag's hitting and I'm shooting mud.
Yeah.
So making a long run like that is can be kind of tricky.
Yeah. I really pay attention to that water level. It's a big deal. All right, man. Well, do you want to? We have 40 minutes here. That went pretty quick.
It really did. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to? Do you want to plug your sponsors? You have anything else to add?
No, nothing really.
Who is sponsoring you now?
So right now I have Radfin. They make some awesome clothing. They make everything from lifestyle T-shirts to sun shirts to winter gear. So they're a huge supporter of mine. They hook me up pretty good with with all my clothing needs. And then English Marine came in pretty big this year. They helped me out getting this sweet rig behind me. I'm very stoked about it. I'm very happy.
Triton.
That the Triton is. Oh, actually, I went out with Todd. It was a boat I was eyeing for quite a while, and it was a boat that I was like, it looks like it matches the speed, matches the fishing platform, matches the ride. And I went out with Todd, and from the quick little outing we had at San Vicente, it matched all of it. And I was like, for the price you get it for compared to other boat brands, to me it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's $15,000 to $20,000 cheaper than going with let's say a Ranger.
Right.
A Ranger is a phenomenal boat, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, for the price point, for my budget and my financial decision making, to me this was the right fit for me.
Yeah.
So Anglers just helped me out with all that and taking care of me whenever I need something. I can call Rick, and he's right there he's more than happy to help.
Yeah.
And then Barker Realty, that's actually my girlfriend's grandpa.
Uh-huh.
Her grandpa and grandma, they own a real estate company. So they help me out a little bit, which a little bit's a lot of bit in this game, as you know, because everything's so expensive.
Everything helps.
It doesn't matter whether it's $100, $1,000, $2,000, and upward.
Oh,
so
yeah.
They do help me out a lot. And to be honest, without them, I probably wouldn't have been able to do a lot of the things I was doing this year.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I say a little bit, but in reality, it's a lot,
Mm-hmm.
Kind of feel bad for saying a little bit because it really was a lot.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter the value, whether, like I said, whether it's $1,000 or $100 or $10,000, it doesn't matter. It's all
Yeah.
And then P-Line and First Gen, they helped me out. They hooked me up with line and baits and all my needs there. I put a lot of trust in P-Line growing up. That's what I grew up on was P-Line's CXX. Doesn't matter whether I was throwing a robo worm on a drop shot or a Texas rig to throwing a crankbait, everything. That's what I grew up on. And so I remember when San Vicente first opened and fishing through all the trees. That's where it really impressed me.
Yeah.
Log is everywhere. We're throwing 10-pound CXX and boat flipping 5-pounders with a really frayed line. So that's why I really I'm very thankful to be hooked up with them. And then Phoenix Rods, the whole GSM group. I have Phoenix Rods, Yamamoto Baits, Bill Lewis, Steel Shad, Buckeye.
So does that, since you were with Phoenix when GSM bought it, does that now include you're kind of in the whole scheme of things with Yamamoto Baits and everything that GSM owns?
Yes. So basically, I
like Pure Fishing, if you were with Pure Fishing, kind of thing.
Yeah. So basically, they're all one.
Yeah.
Well, basically, you kind of get to pick who you want to be a part of.
Okay.
So I told them that those are the companies I wanted to be a part of, and I felt like I could represent. Bill Lewis, obviously, they make a rattle trap, and how good a rattle trap is at the Low River.
Sure.
There's a lot of their baits that I already used and already catch a lot of fish on. Cool Baits, they help me out, whenever I need something.
I saw that 10-pounder. Was that a 10?
No, they're talking about the one at Lake Paris.
Well, I wasn't going to say Lake Paris, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a secret. You have it on your Instagram, and it's pretty easy to.
Yeah.
That was. How big was that?
I think that one was 7.5, but that.
Oh, no kidding. Oh man,
was
that thing was,
so skinny. When I
God, it
hooked it,
was big old head on it.
I thought it was easily over 10 pounds, which
Yeah.
it was definitely. That fish was probably up there with the biggest fish I've ever caught, frame wise, length
Yeah.
wise, all that.
Right.
That thing was a monster.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
Justin and Sean, they're really good people, and they hook me up. I think that they hook up a lot of the young kids in the, around,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
They help a lot.
they're big supporters of the juniors, all those kids. As you see, you got Cool Baits on your cup.
I do.
Um,
That was from they sent us a bunch of stickers for East County.
yeah, and then Mercury, I was able to get on the Mercury Pro team this year, so that helped out a lot.
That's got to be a huge help.
Yeah, it's saved me thousands of dollars.
Right.
Do the rebate on the motor, and
Yeah.
you get money back. And then Power Pole's the same kind of deal.
Yeah. Is
Got
it?
got on the Power Pole team, and that saved me a couple $1,000s when buying the boat. And same thing with Lowrance. I saved multiple thousands of dollars by, getting hooked up with Tom with Lowrance, and
Mm-hmm.
all these companies. They're great people, and they're willing to support me, and that's what it takes. So this off season, we're gonna try and really build our
Yeah.
sponsorship platform, which I've come to learn is extremely hard. It's extremely hard to build that.
Oh yeah.
Companies are willing to give discounts, but they're not willing to give, money.
Right.
Which
Yeah. Product's easy to get. Discounts are, yeah. But once
discounts,
you go to the next level, that's a whole nother story.
yeah, that's what I learned last year. Last year, I sent out
Yeah.
my resume, and I feel like it's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
I've sent it out to probably close to 100 companies, and
Mm-hmm.
the majority of them didn't even respond or said no, reach back out at a different time.
Mm. Wow.
So it's amazing. I feel like it's more than anything. It's about who you know. If you know someone that might have a connection to that company or to this company, whether it's that person is big in the company or can just get a little word in, that's
Mm-hmm.
huge. It's very hard to just meet up with and connect with and talk to someone that just is a financial, marketing director for a company, and
Yeah.
just have them come at you with open arms and say, "Yeah, we'd love to have you." It's not like that. And who knows? Maybe it's part of the world we live in. The economy. Everything's so expensive. I mean, if it puts stress on us, like obviously it puts stress on companies, and maybe that's why they're not as willing. I don't know, but
Yeah.
it's very difficult. So that's one of my big things to work on before
Mm-hmm.
we go back east and we fish the U.S. Open. This is kind of my downtime. I spend a lot of time working on that.
Yeah. So you're not planning on fishing Mead, right, in September for the Western Outdoor News Open at Lake Mead?
No, probably not.
Yeah.
Unless something
God.
awesome happens. If something awesome happens, then we'll find our way.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I know. It's the same thing for me too. I'd really like to. I guess it's been fishing really good,
Yeah,
but
I've heard that meat is fishing better than Mojave. So
yeah. Yeah. That's what I hear right now. I mean, it's the time of year too. That Mojave, I haven't fished it in October. Some friends, John Bell's fished that U.S. Open a couple different times, and some other guys and whatever, and they telling me about it. And I've only fished Mojave in the springtime, which is awesome.
yeah,
It's freaking crazy, and but just a totally different animal in in October,
yeah,
falling water and deep water fish and all that. So we'll see. I'll definitely be at the Open. I'm going to join you.
yeah. I'll see you there. It should be a good time. I've never been there before. So, and desert lakes seem to be a little challenging. That's one thing I've learned.
Yeah, 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 for sure. They're different. They're different. They're a lot different.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff looks good, and a lot of stuff looks the same.
Yeah, a lot of dead water. A
Yeah,
lot of dead water. You go a long ways. You'll go. I'm sure you've seen it in back east too. You'll go a mile, 2 miles without seeing a fish. nothing. And then the next cove you go into, all of a sudden there's like a smallmouth here and a largemouth there, and there's another smallmouth, and that one's a 4-pounder, and it's like, what the heck just happened? Just
Yeah.
why is this different? Yeah, it's kind of crazy. A lot of dead water.
Yeah.
But when you find them, they're there.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. It should be a good time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well. All right. Well, thanks a lot for coming on.
Yeah,
And
appreciate the invite.
I hope to see you around at the local lakes.
Yeah, if you go to Otay on Wednesday, I might be there.
I'm going to be at Sutherland tomorrow. We got a club tournament tomorrow there, so I'm looking forward to it. But all right, man. Well, that's it. We'll talk to you later.
All righty. Thanks for having me.
See you.
All right.
Yep.
Bye.